With Gio Lopez off to play quarterback for Bill Belichick at North Carolina, who's the South Alabama starting quarterback? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Next up is South Alabama. We're almost done with the West. We got South Alabama, we got the Cajuns. We're going to split it up with Keith Gill, the commissioner, and then we'll do the East. We'll start off with the East, I believe, on Monday. That is the way that it all works out. So we got Major Applewhite to talk to. We got Jordan Davis and Darius McKenzie, a couple players that Major Applewhite brought to New Orleans for media days. We will talk about the quarterback. It felt like Gio Lopez was coming back, and then Bill Belichick came with $4 million. And what can you do? So you do have Bishop Davenport, played very well in a bowl game. You do have Zach Pyron, the transfer. You do have Bubba Carpenter. And you do have a recruited sophomore. So you do have a bunch of choices. Who is Major Applewhite going to go with? And all of a sudden, you do have wide receiver U. Always seems as though South Alabama has at least one, if not two, outstanding wide receivers. So we talked to Major Applewhite about all of that. Let's get to it. He is heading into his second year as the head coach, 5th overall at being at South Alabama. He is the head coach of the South Alabama Jaguars. He is Major Applewhite, and he is Locked On Sunbelt. All right, back another episode of Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. That's our old buddy, Major Applewhite from South Alabama in Mobile, Alabama. One game, one coach. I want you. You did such a tremendous job. It's not like you had a month to prepare for that bowl game. Backup quarterback, you lost your running back, and you lost your wide receiver, getting ready for the NFL draft. Yeah. And you went out and won a bowl game. I guess it's the point of you didn't have time to think about it. You just had to get ready.
There's a little bit to that. Ready, fire, aim. But it was, I think that's a blessing, in all honesty, a quick turnaround nowadays. You don't have a lot of time to sit there and think from the last game of the season to the portal opening to when game time starts in the bowl games. I think we all kind of agree with that at some point in our lives. Like sometimes the more time you have to think about it, the worse it gets. Right. So it was good.
Everyone's still kind of in football shape. No one didn't have a break or
exactly. I mean, hell, some of these guys had to go back and take finals.
Right.
So they weren't even done. Yeah. We lost about 8 guys on our Friday walkthrough because they had to go to. I say they had to. They wanted to walk through their graduation. Heaven forbid they do that. Right. But about half a dozen to 8 guys went and walked through, graduated on Friday, got to see their parents, got to see them graduate, then got right back on a bus, drove to Montgomery, and played their last college football game. So it was a whirlwind, but it was a great win to end on. Good momentum for the offseason, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. So the offseason looked like it was going in one direction because Gio was coming back, and good for him. And then some guy named Belichick came with a bag of money, and so he had to go, obviously. And no one blames him for doing that. And so where are we with the quarterback? You went and got, Bishop Davenport is there. You got a kid who, local prospect, and you went and got a Georgia Tech, Minnesota kid. So where are we with the quarterback? Always a favorite question that head coaches like, who is your starting quarterback?
Well, wanted playing experience. We first thing when we came here in 21, it was the same thing. We had some guys, Des Trotter, Tanner McGee, Eli Gainey, that had some playing experience, but not tremendous amount of playing experience, starting experience. So wanted to bring in Jake Bentley.
He only was the active leader in passing yardage in the nation.
Yeah, who had a lot of starts, and was Des a good player? Yes. Was Tanner a good? All those guys were good players, but they just had to start a lot of games. Just wanted more experience in the room. Same thing after the year when Jake left. Des had started some games because Jake tore his ACL, but Tanner hadn't played much and Eli hadn't played much, so I wanted to bring in another guy. So we brought in Carter Bradley, who had some snaps. And it just makes your room older. Doesn't necessarily make it better, but it makes it older. And so in this situation with Gio leaving, Bishop having started some games at Utah State, having started a couple games for us last year, Jared Holland's playing very, very little, but getting a lot of practice reps. I just didn't feel like we had enough game experience. So we were fortunate, very fortunate that Zach was available. He went up there to Minnesota when he had left Georgia Tech to go vie for a starting job. And, I've done this long enough as a coach and as a player. Sometimes what's said or what's intended to be said isn't always what's actually happening. And as a player, then get frustrated when you feel like you might have had more of a shot on paper than when you actually got there. So I told him, I was like, well, our starters left and we've got to 100 days before our season starts, and the best player is going to start here. You do have a couple guys that have been in the system a little bit longer than you, but you've also learned 2 college systems now, so this shouldn't be hard to learn your third. You come in, learn it, earn the starting job, then you're the starter. We're not going to give this thing out in May and June when we don't play till September, and that's with any position. So Bishop has obviously played the best in our offense, in games, has gotten the most reps as a starter. So from a pecking order standpoint, he's earned that. In bowl game MVP and the amount of time and effort that he puts into it, he's earned that opportunity to go out there as a starter for fall camp. And, he's going to make it very hard for anybody to compete with him.
So when you're doing a portal thing, are you looking for the guy who fits your system, or are you going to tweak the system to maybe fit the guy? How does that work?
It's a Venn diagram of, what do we want, what can we afford, and who likes us? Kind of like dating. It's like, what do I like? What actually likes me, and what actually am I compatible with? It's not very far off. It's somewhere in there. Whether it's a large area, there's something that overlaps.
Right.
And sure. I like that guy from Michigan.
Sure.
Michigan, it cost him $10 million to get that kid. Right. So I was out of that one.
Right. We can adjust our system.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah. So you hope you find people like Zach that want an opportunity to truly go compete, that still believe they're a great football player and have time to go play, and have the humility. It's hard for some kids now. It is, regardless of what they say, what they hashtag. You can see it on their face when they come in from a Power 5 program and they come into your place and, my laundry's not folded. No, but it's washed and dried. It's on a loop. No, they didn't fold it and put it on your stool. Right. It's on a loop. And, if you want it folded, you can take it off and fold it yourself. It's real. It's real. So, you not always do you find the kid that's excited to be there, happy to be there 24/7. And so, blessed to have Zach in our quarterback room and look forward to him competing and going after him.
All right, and we're talking with Major Applewhite, head coach at South Alabama Jaguars, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. And so now we're going into year 5, right? Yep. And so how do you tweak and self-scout the offense? So although it's a different quarterback, the other coaches aren't quite prepared for you doing the same thing week in, week out.
Yeah, we're going to always continue to move and change on offense, and same thing on defense. We're going to try to fix our issues every offseason and constantly just, address them. You're always going to have issues as an athlete, person, business, whatever. There's always things that can get better, and we're going to relentlessly address them. We try to address them in recruiting. We try to address them in style of practice, time allocated to certain situations. So we're going to, shape our offense around the tools that we have this year. Same things defensively. There'll be a lot of similarities in what we have done in the past, but there'll be some new things that we're doing schematically and even with people in different positions.
So last year, you kind of split the running back load. I presume that's going to be it. Always seems to be the way. Kentrell was the guy, and then some guy named Fluff came in there and started scoring a bunch of touchdowns. Kentrell's going to be a lead guy again. I've had other people say he's as good as they come. And then is someone going to be sharing the load as well with Kentrell? Yeah,
I think you need that as a tailback. Even the guy that I got to play with as a freshman, Ricky Williams, he still needed a guy. Even though he was a 28 to 34 carry a guy, he still needed times during the game. And nowadays with no huddle, more snaps in the ball game, you don't have the guy that's carrying it 34 times. You just don't. It doesn't work like that. You really have about 3 backs you play. Your 1 and your 3 are basically the same guy, and they rotate constantly. And then you have a number 2 guy that's a change of pace. Maybe a smaller guy, more of a wide receiver type body type, but you usually kind of get through a game with those 3 kind of guys. So Kentrell will be a starter again. He started for us last year. He'll be the starter again this year. Who will accompany him? Will be P.J. Martin. Will be Keenan Phillips. Will be Iverson Celestine. All 3 of those guys are vying for that spot and that opportunity, and they know that it's there. It hurts to lose a guy like Fluff. This it is what it is. And there's certain guys that you're not going to be able to replace. But at the same time, it's not like you're going from a 10 to a 0. I think that's some things that people kind of lose sight of is like, well, you lost this guy. I was like, yeah, and who's to say that the guy who comes in may not be better than him? I don't know. We have yet to play. At the same time, we were still a 7-6 ball club last year. So, I'm not sitting, it's not like we lost 11 players off of an 11-1 team, so there's a lot of things that we got to get better at and fix. so I'm eager to see who's going to step up in those roles.
Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about that wide receiver room. And in this case, Major Applewhite actually likes the depth. He doesn't think it's one or two guys. It's a bunch of different guys that he likes in this case. We will do that after I tell you about 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the golf course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best part of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's continue our conversation with Major Applewhite, head coach of South Alabama, talking about the wide receiver room. Devin Boyson back for another season, but he likes the depth he has this year for his wideouts.
All right, let's talk about the wideouts. We're Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. We're talking with Major Applewhite, head coach of South Alabama. I think they're going to name a wing of the stadium, or at least a bathroom stall, after Devin Boyson. He's been there forever. Yes. Craig Stevenson said South Alabama's been FBS for 14 years. He's been there for half.
That's right. That's right.
And yet, it does feel like South Alabama is like wide receiver youth. There seems to be always at least one dominating wide receiver, if not two, every year. A lot of that has to do with you. You've been there, and they've had always an explosive wide receiver. Is Anthony Eager going to be that guy? Because he has, he's right there. Came out same class-ish. Yep. Grew up with Ryan Williams. Same kind of speed. And they're right there together. Is he ready to take it to be able to hit that speed, hit the field this season?
Anthony, specifically, yes.
Yeah.
I think, all those guys in that room have done. Paul's done. Petrino, our offensive coordinator, wide receiver coach, done a phenomenal job with all of them in that room. But in the past, it's been a Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Wayne, Colin Lacey room, or a Jalen Wayne, Devin Boyson, Colin Lacey room, or a Colin Lacey, Jamal Pritchett, Devin Boyson. And you can't name the other 7 or 8 wideouts.
Right.
And last year was the first time where it was like, okay, we're playing Pritchett, we're playing Boyson, we're playing this Webb guy, we're playing this Shamar Sandgren guy, we're playing this Ivory guy, we're playing a lot of different people, and that's a testament to Paul. He's done a great job of coaching the room and getting more people available. So Devin Boyson is going to play well next year. How do you know that, Major? Because he has the last 6 years experience.
Right.
All right. What about Anthony Eager? Well, yeah, he got on one of the biggest stages at LSU, scored 2 touchdowns last year, and got better and better. And when Pritchett didn't play in the bowl game, he made plays. Well, what about Webb? He's gone. What about Pritchett? He's gone. What about Ivory? He's gone. What about Sandgren? He's gone. Mike Woods is a guy who was a junior who was behind those 2 guys, but he's kind of like a Saraland player from the standpoint of sometimes you don't hear about these Saraland players who they're seniors because the guy that was ahead of them is going to damn Ohio State.
Right.
He just didn't have enough chance to play. So Mike is a guy that I think is right in there with Devin, right in there with Anthony Eager, that he's going to have a great year. And those are kind of the 3 that have really asserted themselves. But Noah Toaster has done a great job in offseason. Brendan Jenkins from Samford, transfer in. Everybody knows his dad, Michael Jenkins, who played for the Falcons and also played for the Saints. And then Jeremy Scott from Callaway, just outside of Jackson. Those 3 guys are kind of jumping in with the other 3. And I think we're going to have more depth than we think. I think that's a position that's going to get better as the year goes on. But, I hate losing Pritchett and I hate losing Webb,
right.
Both of them to NFL teams. But I think we got some good players there. And I think they're going to grow into their role. And be very productive.
right. So beyond the obvious answer of NIL and the portal, what did you learn? Maybe just about yourself. Well, let's talk about just about yourself between being the head coach the first time and the head coach this time.
I think especially at South Alabama, there's some patience. You kind of have to pull out and zoom out a little bit and see, okay, where did you play high school? You played at a high school that had, been around for over 100 years in Baton Rouge. And Dale Weiner, the head coach that started there in the mid-'80s, had not had a losing season in over 20 years.
Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame.
And he's in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. You chose to go to a school in Texas that expects you to win 10 out of 12 games every year. You've worked for guys like Mac Brown. You've worked for guys like Nick Saban. So in a good way, your expectations in your life have always been, if you don't win 10 games, you suck. If you don't win your district at Baton Rouge, you suck. If you're not beating A&M Oklahoma and in the top 1 or 2 of your league, then you had a terrible year. And it's the same feeling when you were coaching in Alabama. And I think it's a blessing and a curse. I think it's a blessing because that's what keeps you moving, and you're operating and in charge of turning a young 15-year program into that. So it's good that you have that expectations and that you don't use age or infancy as an excuse as to why we can't get those things. At the same time, it's young, and sometimes some of the things that you've learned from other people that are Hall of Famers like Nick Saban or Mac Brown or DeLoss Dodds or Mal Moore. I did listen to other people besides just my head football coach and paid attention. And sometimes some of those things that you're describing or trying to emulate are foreign concepts, and you have to be patient. And, that's not always a redhead's strongest suit who's trying to win a bunch of games, but you do, and you don't want to wear on people. You want to do it the right way, and you want to do it at the right pace. But you also feel like a world of not pressure, but just responsibility to give people in the state of Mobile and on our campus and in our football program and our donors, you want to give them the best. You want to give them the best, and you just don't want to come back with 70%, 85% results. You want to come back with 100% results, and you want to make people proud. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned from year 1 to year 2 is never complacent, never satisfied. But it's going to be more than a quarter to get this thing flipped. When I say flipped, to build it the way you want, it's going to be more than a summer, more than an off season, probably more than a season or two. It's going to take a while to get this strong the way you want it strong, year in and year out, the way we've seen certain programs, whether it's App or Lafayette or Boise State or teams that have kind of been the king of their castle. And that's what, I'm trying to do here.
A couple more questions for Major Applewhite. All right, you mentioned, so the quarterback, kind of a question mark right now. Where do you see the strength of the team heading into camp?
I haven't thought about it too much from that standpoint. There's a lot of experience on the offensive side of the ball this year. A lot of returning starters up front, returning experience at wide receiver, some returning experience at tight end. Quarterback played a lot at tailback. If you're looking for a side of the ball, you should have more experience and more success on the offensive side of the ball. But I would say strength position, I'd probably say linebacker. That was a position where we had lost so many guys with Trey Kaiser and James Miller and Quentin Wilfon and I'm forgetting names, but we lost a lot of really good linebackers after the 23 season. So that was where all the inexperience was. And then some of those guys got hurt. So now we were playing some really young kids in 24, playing true freshmen at linebacker. Well, we got through the season, won our bowl game. So now there's nobody in there that hadn't played. So the experience is a strength at that position. Kind of went through your lumps with it year before last, but now if we get down to our third, fourth, or fifth linebacker, it's like, well, that guy started, so it shouldn't be brand new for him.
All right, we found out, did not know this. I wasn't familiar who Parker McCollum was, but apparently Parker McCollum named his kid after you. Country music star named his son Major McCollum. I mean, did you know that? And how cool is that?
It is cool. It's an honor. I don't take it too personal because I've had a lot of people say that they've named their son Major. It's not after me personally. It's just a cool name.
It sounded that way. He was on the Marty McGee show.
Well, I appreciate it, but I also know. But it's always an honor when someone takes your name. My parents didn't know who Major Ogilvie was. They didn't know what kind of person he was, what kind of character he was. They just knew that was a pretty cool name, and he was on an Alabama recruiting list. And so that's how I got my name. And Well,
he's checking out Major Applewhite.
I will tell young Major McCollum, just get through 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. It's going to pay off for you. Just get through that. You're going to catch a little bit in the lunch line. You're going to catch a little bit at PE. But once you get to be, in high school and college and young professional, people don't forget your name. Yeah. So it's a good thing to have.
He's Major Applewhite. Always good to catch up with the head coach of the South Alabama Jaguars, and he is Locked On Sunbelt. Thanks so much for hopping on the podcast, Coach, and best of luck this season.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take one more time out. We'll continue our conversation with the players from South Alabama. We got the offensive lineman, Jordan Davis, and linebacker, Darius McKenzie, as they help us actually recap what happened at the end of the 24 season and look ahead to 2025. Do that right after I thank everybody. All right, we're moving along slowly. Over 2,400 subscribers. Our things have slowed down in the dog days of summer. We'll see. Okay, I'm still thinking we can get to our goal of 2,500 subscribers. I thought we were going to do it very quickly, but things have slowed down since, all the La Tech news has slowed down. But I still appreciate it. We're going to set a record of over 8,000 downloads audio-wise. I really do appreciate that. Didn't think that was any way. That has more than doubled since April. So that is amazing in just a few months. We'll see what happens come football season. So really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Don't forget about them. Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It is a big, big help. All right. And we got another week of East previews to do. Cajuns still coming up tomorrow, and the commissioner on Friday. So thank you so much for all of your support. All right, let's wrap up the conversation with South Alabama. We have the offensive lineman, Jordan Davis, and the linebacker, Darius McKenzie. We started off with Jordan talking about how you go about winning a bowl game with a backup quarterback. You're missing your leading touchdown rushing running back, Fluff Bothwell, and the leading wide receiver steps away to get ready for the NFL draft. And we look ahead to the 2025 season as well. They are the players from South Alabama, offensive lineman Jordan Davis, and linebacker Darius McKenzie, and they are Locked On Sunbelt.
Dave Schultz back on Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day, and we're here with the guys from South Alabama, Jordan Davis and Darius McKenzie. Jordan, you guys finish up the season very strong with a big win in the bowl game. No quarterback. Well, backup quarterback, backup running back. Well, not the backup, but Fluff was gone, and the leading wide receiver was not there. I say one game, one coach. I'm taking Major Applewhite. How did you guys end up coming away with the victory in that bowl game?
Man, just coming together, man. We knew some players was out, and for us to win, we have to come together and really put our best foot forward.
And so last season was a roller coaster of a season, all right? Tough start, right? Tough loss to begin with, and then Gio got hurt, had the turf toe, and then go into Lafayette, beat the Cajuns, had a big lead against Georgia Southern, don't quite finish it off. I think Major talked about it was mental toughness, or how to finish mentally, right? Like, don't give up, got to finish the games. Is that what he was saying? Because he mentioned it to me, although not on this episode. How do you guys finish those games that you should win, right? Because that's Georgia Southern is the game you should have won.
Yeah, man. Like, for example, Georgia Southern, man, thing about that game was penalties, man. I think that's something he was hitting at. Penalties is mental mistakes, and that's kind of what cost us the game.
Yeah. And so where do we go this year? Because obviously it flipped after spring, right? Gio was coming back. Say he was coming back after before the bowl game, and then some guy named Belichick came with a bag. And what can you do? Everyone's leaving for $4 million. Good luck to Gio, right? I mean, what can you do? And so now we got a situation with a new quarterback. And so, is it a fresh start? Where are expectations on the team? Because we don't know who the quarterback is. It may be Zach. It may be Bishop. He's going to be the guy leading. Someone's got to take the first snap, so It's probably going to be him. And so where are we with the team heading into it? Is it a big question mark? Where are we with the team?
The expectations are always going to be high for us, man. No matter who's in the game. The bowl game, Bishop played. We ended up winning. So, just the way Bishop, we got Bishop, Zach came in. We got other quarterbacks, Jared, Bubba, and, just from my point of view, just seeing them put in the work every day, man, I love it. Them boys are competing hard right now, and I don't think it's a big question mark, man. I just think it's just who it's going to be,
Yeah, I brought this up with Texas State. Maybe it gets overshadowed with South Alabama, but all of a sudden the standard has been set, right? It's kind of bowl games all of a sudden, right? I mean, went to the New Orleans Bowl. Well, that didn't go very well, but still all of a sudden won that one, or went to that one, came up short. The next season didn't go quite as well, but won a bowl game in the stadium in Hancock Whitney. All right, we got to get a name for that. What do they call it? The Hank? I mean, come on, we got to do better than that, right? I mean, you can come up with so much better nicknames than that. And then won a bowl game last year, right? So all of a sudden the standard is now bowl games. How do you guys compete with the Cajuns and again Texas State? Same thing. Didn't quite reach expectations last year, but those standards have been raised, by guys in your class.
Yeah, man. Invitation always going to rise, man. Like how you said, it was the bowl games. Well, that's how it's going to start off, man. And it's just going to go up from there.
Yeah. All right, Darius, let's talk to you. What have you noticed about Major Applewhite? He's been here 5 years, right? Comes from Alabama, comes from Houston. He talked about, coming from Power 5, Power 4, now coming to G5, getting humbled a little bit, and kind of finding your place, and you can still be successful. And South Alabama has been in that spot. They are now all of a sudden successful. What used to be kind of, I guess, the reputation with South Alabama would never be able to build on that success. Get a huge win against Mississippi State and then lose against an FCS team. That would be it. But now, although last year was a roller coaster, you guys have that opportunity to build on that success for this season. What are you looking forward to this season?
This season, I'm looking forward to just seeing the whole team, special teams, defense, offense, put everything together as a whole and be able to work together as one cohesive unit through all 4 quarters, overtime if needed. But carrying on from last season, we had great momentum, just little things, as you were talking about earlier, made us lose games. But just from the beginning of the offseason, Coach Applewhite was harping on the little things, being disciplined, being penalty-free, error-free, knowing your job. And we've made tremendous progress, especially this summer, bringing in a couple of transfers that help complement the team. So I'm really excited about the defense, what we're going to do, and it's looking very good.
So they say complementary football. When you hear that, what does that mean?
To me, that means just working together, both sides of the ball. Offense let's say offense goes 3 and out. Defense, we got to be like, it's okay, put the ball down. Let's go. It's our time to carry our load and then just go do our job. Whether it's 3 and out, 10-play drive, forcing a field goal, just like if the offense is down, defense has to be up. If defense is down, offense has to be up. And obviously we all want to be on the up and up, but we just got to, at the end of the day, just take care of each other. If one person's down or defense is down, offense has to be up.
Talking to Jordan Davis and Darius McKenzie, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. How much fun is it playing college football these days? There's so much going on. The coaches are dealing with portals. You guys are getting money. The fans don't seem to quite get it. It's tough to root for the players. I root for the players. I think if student athletes can take advantage of the deal, you guys can end up with law degrees and MBAs and maybe have enough money for a down payment for a house if you guys play your cards right. I know you guys all want to play in the NFL. We know how hard that is to do, but financially, you guys could end up on the right side of the ledger, and you don't have to be having $500,000 a year, make a few bucks, and all of a sudden, you got a house when you're leaving college.
Yep.
How much fun is it still to play college football these days?
College football is super fun. It's just a blessing to be out here, especially as an international student from Canada, just being out here in America, playing such a big sport. It basically feels like I'm playing professional football, the way the fans are treated, everything's on ESPN, televised games, the way the media is. Just great coming in every day and knowing that the whole community is supporting you and looking forward to watching you play football, which is a sport I play because I love it. I just started playing because it's fun, and now I'm getting rewarded for it.
We got Jordan Davis. We got Darius McKenzie. They are from South Alabama, and they are Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Thanks so much for having on the podcast, guys. Best of luck this season.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.